So you're watching us on the JoyNews channel, and what you see now on your screens is the Guard of Honor, which is stationed here right in front of the Burma Hall. Burma Hall is serving as that base for the West African sub-regional body ECOWAS, which is today holding its meeting. And the meeting simply is to explore the options of the when it comes to the activation of a standby force for the sub-regional body. The background to this, for those of you who are watching us and connecting maybe for the very first time, is that just at the till end of last month, we saw that the Presidential Guard in Niger announced a coup d'etat, which effectively means that President Mohamed Bazoum will no longer be considered as president for the Republic of Niger, and that's because the Presidential Guard staged a coup, deposed him, and that activated, of course, a number of reactions from the sub-regional body ECOWAS. Now, ECOWAS, from its initial point, decided to engage the military team in Niger just to ensure that there's a smooth handover of power and the reinstatement of President Mohamed Bazoum. Preceding that were a raft of sanctions that were announced by the sub-regional body, ECOWAS, which announced that of course, it was going to sanction Niger, and basically the decision to sanction Niger is because the sub-regional body ECOWAS believes that the issues were not in line with the principles that they have, which is to affirm the position of democratic rule, democratic values, which the military junta in Niger violated. As part of the moves, General Abdul Salami Abubakar was deployed together with the Sultan of Sokoto to engage the team in the Republic of Niger. That was part of the initial plan. But ECOWAS further reported at its meeting, which happened last week in Abuja, that all of these individuals were repelled by the military team in the Republic of Niger. And so because of that, the decision by the sub-regional body leaders is that there would no longer be the need to wait and to dilly-dally around the issues of the increasing spate of military coup d'etat, which is now becoming a norm in the sub-region. A reason for which we're seeing the meeting that you have in the background today, where the ECOWAS military chiefs have been ordered by the sub-regional leaders, including our president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to activate an ECOWAS standby force. Is the reason for which we're here today, witnessing and seeing what is happening now. We'll be taking you in briefly, where we'll listen to the opening remarks and get to see what exactly is happening and what the concerns of all of these regional bodies have been. But what we see now is the arrival of all of the dignitaries. Just a while ago, we saw the Defense Minister Dominic Niti will also arrive here, and that means that it's setting the ball rolling for the engagements that will start. There have been a number of issues. First of all, starting with the contribution of troops. Even here in Ghana, we're bringing to you that exclusive interaction between the Defense Minister and the Foreign Affairs, as well as the Defense and Interior Committee, where there's even debate about whether or not President Akufo-Addo has the constitutional remit in the first place to deploy or to contribute troops to this ECOWAS standby force. So it's the reason for which this meeting is also being held, to explore what the options are for the sub-regional body, what the mechanism will be in terms of the deployment of the standby force, and beyond that as well, the operational challenges, logistical issues that needs to be addressed. This meeting should have happened as of last weekend, but for various reasons it did not happen. Some are pointing to logistical issues, some are also pointing to diplomatic matters that affected the meeting that is being held today. But it's now confirmed that we have, other compatriots from other West African countries coming down here to Accra to be a part of this crucial meeting. Now, after today's meeting, it is unclear if the military chiefs will affirm the position of the leaders. But be it as it may, and knowing that all of these chiefs command a lot of respect and control their armed forces, they would have to obey the command if that green light is given. So that is why we're here and waiting for what the deliberations will be about, what the outcome will be, and what the marching orders will be. We'll be taking you into the hall because it's just right to our side here where the real events are happening for the day. But what you see now is the Guard of Honor, which will be marched off very shortly, marking the end of the first phase and moving us into the second phase of the event, which has got to do with the deliberations itself. We'll be bringing you up to speed with all that's happening here, all that you need to know about the meeting itself, itself, and we'll be interacting with some of the security experts who would also be giving us a sense of what to point out, what to know, and some of the factors to be aware of. There has been, for instance, the concern about the capacity of the sub-regional body itself, the numbers to deploy. It's also coming to question, and we're uncertain what the outcome will be on the contribution that the various countries will do when it comes to giving out their armed forces and the troops that they would want to contribute. So these are the key matters coming up. Also, we need to point out that a lot of experts are worried, and their concern has been about the fact that if you activate this force, you're going to be facing severe firearms from Niger, from Mali, from Burkina Faso, because we have these two countries who also have military leaders pointing out that any decision to intervene in the security situation in Niger will definitely move the region into a full-blown war. Is the military ready for that? It's what will be explored here in the meeting. So we're just waiting for the initial comments to be made, initial interactions that will happen between the military chiefs, our defense minister, and other leading members of the security forces who are present here at Burma camp, hosting the committee of chiefs of experts for the sub-regional body, the Economic Community of West African States. So that's what we're bringing to you live here on the Joy News channel. For those of you joining us, you can also just stay with us. Even if you can't stay on the television, just grab a phone. We're live on Facebook as well, and all of our traditional and social media platforms, so you can follow and get up to date with what's happening, because this has got to do, first of all, with the welfare of the West Africa sub-region and the threats being posed to democratically elected governments and stable democracies such as the Republic of Ghana. So that's why we're here, bringing you the very best that you can get. I also need to point out that present here we have the ambassador, or the representative of the sub-regional body, Ambassador Babagana Wakil, who just walked in a couple of hours ago, representing the sub-regional body, ECOWAS itself, and that's where the engagements, of course, will be reported from, because ECOWAS would have to report back to the heads of states on the operational challenges, some of the teething problems and recommendations that will be coming from these military chiefs. And so that's why we're stationed here, bringing you the very best. There's also the concern about our nationals who are in the Republic of Niger. Why is that important? That is important because we know that there are Ghanaians living in Niger, there are Nigerians living in Niger, in fact more of them living in Niger. We have other nationals as well living in Niger. What would be the decision of the government of Ghana on that in terms of repatriation? Because any attack, as we have heard from some of these residents there, may result in reprisals, as they are pointing out to us. That's been one of the fears that they've been hoarding about what may happen if you're going with firearms. Will citizens be affected? Will people be affected? These are the concerns that some experts have also been raising. There's also the issue about external funding. Where will the funding come from, knowing that these West African countries do have a challenge when it comes to economic economic strength? We know that Ghana is going for an IMF bailout. The condition is not different for the likes of Cote d'Ivoire, the likes of Nigeria itself, which is facing some serious economic difficulties. Will they opt for external forces to come in and to partner this deployment that will happen? What will be the operational command, the theater and the command levels? What will be the arrangements? These are the questions bothering the minds of everyone as we move into the engagements for today. And so we're here stationed, giving you the very best that you can get out of this meeting, which is just underway. Just gone by, you see the Ghana Armed Forces, the Guard of Honor, which is just being walked off now, which is obviously signaling that it is the beginning of the day. Business is about to start, and the security chiefs will indeed be making their initial or preliminary comments as we move into this meeting of the sub-regional body ECOWAS, with the military chiefs actually meeting in the hall. Let's move you now to the hall, where of course that statement is being made, and we'll be getting you live pictures. Stay with us on the JoyNews channel. We're bringing you live pictures from the Burma camp. Let's listen into some of the speeches that are being made now as we move you into the hall to get the very best of the statements that will be made by our defense minister, by ECOWAS, and also by other representatives who are here. So many questions on our minds, but we can then move you into that hall and bring you the very best that you need to know about the engagements happening. But I also need to point out that after today's engagement, we'll be bringing you fallouts in terms of what the requirements are, what the decision is from the sub-regional body, and what the way forward will be. Let's try and engage Ambassador Musa Fatau. We'll be engaging him shortly. He'll just walk into the shots. Obviously, because of the situation we have in the day, we know that obviously there's a need for us to get a brief word from him. So Ambassador Musa will join us shortly for us to get a brief word from him. Ambassador, thank you for joining us on the JoyNews channel. You could just come closer so we have a word. We know that the security chiefs, you're having your meeting today. First of all, your impression about the engagements that have transpired in the first hour of the meeting.
Oh, this meeting. Yes. I mean, you could see determination. You could see unity of purpose among our military chiefs, the chiefs of defense staff, all very determined, and they are just putting the final touches to their operational plans and then get our troops ready. This is more or less a bit like a pledging. What is the meeting? Because the concept of operation is already ready. It's ready. All the factors have been taken into account. What are the potential obstacles? How to overcome them? All these were taken into account in the planning session. Right. So this meeting is just to, refine what we have while preparing for possible intervention. And my interaction with the chiefs of defense staff, of course, of all the member states that are here, was that they are all determined.
Determined to go, and the question is when.
Not when, I'm not going to tell you, because I'm not, because that's an operational secret. When you tell them we are going to start marching tomorrow, then you give them advance notice, to defend. So we know when the military could go in, and up till now, there are diplomatic overtures from ECOWAS, from other whaling partners and others. We are giving diplomacy maximum opportunity, to succeed. What we are saying is that if that fails, there is this other option. And this is what we are doing, and we are not letting off, despite the fake news and then the misinformation.
And I believe the fake news you're talking about is the fact that you do not have African Union support and the support from the United Nations, correct?
That is with the African Union, that is also fake news. Has anybody read the communique of the African Union Peace and Security Council? I was there, participated, in it. What you are hearing, of course, when you have a situation like this, you are going to have different opinions. What matters is what comes out of the communique. So everybody should wait for the communique. And then you realize that the African Union Peace and Security Council supports all the measures being taken by ECOWAS to restore constitutional order. They've condemned it, and many of them are even calling for the suspension of Niger.
Ambassador Fatau, are you mindful of the possible implication for the sub-region? Mali, Burkina Faso have said that they would, support the Nigerian junta if you decide to go in. Are you mindful of a possibility of a full-blown war?
We are very mindful of that, and in the planning phase, all these factors were taken into account. I can tell you confidently, that these ECOWAS standby for troops are ready to take on all comers. This is what I will tell you. And that the threats or whatever by Burkina Faso, Mali have all been taken on board. Yeah. And
why not dialogue?
Dialogue? Yeah. Who is closing the door?
Probably, it could be ECOWAS.
No, it is them. Listen, just a few days back, we were planning ECOWAS AU UN mission to go and meet them. They shut the door on us, saying they are not ready to receive the mission.
You're setting about that report.
Which one?
That they shut their doors, because the word you used in your communique was that you were repelled. The mission was repelled.
Exactly.
Is that the true account of what?
That's the true account. We were going, and they said they were not ready to receive
were you
us.
part of this mission?
I was part of it. Secondly, before even then, the chair of the ECOWAS authority, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu of Nigeria, also dispatched the former head of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, with the Sultan of Sokoto to go also and talk to them. They confined them to the airport. They confined them to the airport. They didn't allow them, citing so-called explosive security situation in town, which is all false. All right. So we have been extending the hand of dialogue, to them. They are rejecting it. Okay. Recently, they've said they are ready to talk. They say they are ready to talk, and then the next day, they charge President Bazoum, who has been under their confinement as a hostage, charging him with a high treason. Somebody that you've arrested, kept in detention for how many weeks, is now that you are finding high treason against him. So these guys are making up justifications for their coup as they go along, and they will soon run out of excuses. So that is it. So we have not shut the door to dialogue. ECOWAS is ready to dialogue, but also we are not going to have an elastic dialogue.
I'll ask you shortly about the criticisms that you're being used, quote unquote, by some other external forces. But the fear is that you're radicalizing this military team. The fact that the life of President Mohamed Bazoum and his family is at risk. The more you radicalize them, anything else could happen.
Well, we have said we are going to hold the junta responsible if anything untoward happens to undermine the physical integrity, the security, the safety of Mohamed Bazoum and his family. They will pay dearly.
And dearly here means?
I'm not going to spell out how they are. Yes, I'm not going to spell out what will happen to them. But what I'm telling you is that there is a lot of fake news, around, right? This is like ECOWAS is being used. Did France or the US or anybody script our protocols for us?
Well, the reason why some have that perception is because just yesterday we were interacting with our partners at DW. The indication is that, for instance, the German Minister for Development and Cooperation will be in Abuja. She's chairing the Sahel Committee, which obviously has some French elements in there. Concerns about how we're making the Sahel region now a playground for a proxy war between, the superpowers. Do we have the capacity to go in fully?
We have the capacity to go in. That's number one. Number two, what baffles me is that those who are talking about ECOWAS being teleguided by the West are those who are also promoting Russia. Okay, the same people are those who see Russians as saviors. So when will Africa find saviors among themselves, instead of always looking for external partners, either the China, America, Russia and other? When are we going to project our own agency? That's the problem. Since the 1960s, right, Africa has always been an arena for proxy wars. First between the Soviet Union, China on one side, and then the West. And today, we are in a multipolar environment, and we are running around from the frying pan to the fire. Leave the Americans, leave the French, now the Russians are the saviors. The Chinese are the saviors. The Turks are the saviors. We have got all these forces in the region. All those who have Africa at heart, right, should try to generate internal resistance to all these, and not to oppose one and then be welcoming the other. On the other,
not receiving funds from the West, from the French, or
we are not receiving nothing, zero. We are not receiving anything. The heads of state have said we are going into Niger, if need be, with our own resources.
Finally, the UN Security Council backing, it's very necessary for you, knowing that the world is also watching what's happening. Do you feel that you've flouted that protocol? The need to ensure that you work together with the United Nations.
When did the Security Council last have unanimity?
Maybe because of the geopolitics. So you may not have.
Because of geopolitics. So it is obvious that even if you are going to talk about climate change, there will be a P5 member who will veto it, much less this situation. Multilateralism is dead. We are in a world of multipolarity. The Security Council will never be unanimous, and you just need the veto of one of the 5 powers. Okay, permanent members, and then it is dead. Why waste your time? We have received the support of the United Nations Secretariat. The Secretary General has severally backed what ECOWAS is doing. He has called for the release of Bazoum. He has condemned his detention and all that. For us, that is more than enough.
Okay. So finally, what message do you have for the people of Ghana? Some who are anxious that the region may be destabilized.
Yeah, look, fellow Ghanaians, I am a Ghanaian myself, right? So this is it. You see, we are talking about if we don't go in, if they refuse dialogue, what I would say to fellow Ghanaians is that the situation there will be worse than it is currently. There are already internal fissures that we are picking up. Okay, a country like Niger that sort of managed their diversity very well in the past, particularly the Tuaregs question. Today, they are saying that we, the Tuaregs and the Arab, the majority who are the Hausa, the Kanuri, the Jerma, are now denying us the ability also to contribute to nation building through leadership. And already there are past guerrilla leaders, okay, who are mobilizing against this junta. So not everything is okay even within the country. Forget about what we hear. There isn't that unity, and the thing is that those who are fearing the consequences of a possible military intervention should exert pressure on the junta to go for the peaceful option. ECOWAS has not closed that door. This is what I repeat all the time. We haven't closed the door, but people concentrate all their comments on the military option. They are not talking about all the other options that are on the table. Okay, so this is what
we're grateful. Definitely, the meeting will wrap up tomorrow. Grateful for your time. Thank you for joining us. And that's Ambassador Fatal Musa, who's the commissioner for the ECOWAS. That's the secretariat, in charge of political affairs at ECOWAS. And the decision by the group of West African leaders under the protocol of ECOWAS is to activate a standby force which will be deployed into the Republic of Niger. Now, that's because a military junta there decided to depose the democratically elected President Mohamed Bazoum. As we speak, the ECOWAS leaders want a solution to the matter, but the junta would not dialogue on the matter, and we know that issue keeps unfolding. We're fortunate to have one man who was close to President Mohamed Bazoum. He was chief of staff at the time President Mohamed Bazoum was in office. Fortunately, he's been able to run for his life, escaped into the Republic of Ghana, and will be joining, hopefully, the military chiefs to brief them on the engagements that will be going to unfold at Burma Camp, the military headquarters, from tomorrow when we get a briefing from the sub-regional body. Jibo Daouda was the former chief of staff and the right-hand man of President Mohamed Bazoum, and the time he was in office, he was in fact in the country when the coup d'etat happened, but found a way of escaping and made his way right here into Ghana. So we're about to interact with him. Obviously, Niger is a French-speaking country, so you'd have to accommodate his French, and then of course we'll get to give you some translation of some of the key issues that are at stake here. Jibu Dauda, you're live on the JoyNews channel. The nation is listening to you right now. I don't need to ask you how you're doing, because obviously things are not too well for you and the Nigerian public. But let's start off with how you made it into Ghana. What was your story? How did you leave Niger, even when the coup happened, when you were in that country? How did you run for your life and to make it right here into the Republic of Ghana?
Thank you for everything. But before answering your question, I want to correct something.
Right.
I'm not the former chief of staff. I'm the chief of staff of the president of the Republic of Niger.
You don't accept that you've been deposed?
Mohamed Bazoum, who is still the elected president of Niger. Then is not the former president. He is the president of the Republic of Niger, the elected one. This attempt to depose him is still ongoing, and it will finish in
so you don't even accept that you've been deposed?
No.
Why so?
Is still the president of the Republic of Niger, recognized by all the countries in the world, except of course Mali and Burkina Faso, that are in the same situation.
But you can't go back home now because your president is no more. There's a new prime minister, there's a new cabinet.
Il n'y a pas de premier ministre, il n'y a pas de nouveau cabinet, tout ça est nul et de nul effet. Le président Mohamed Bazoum est le président de la République du Niger et le seul président de la République du Niger reconnu par tous.
So basically what he's trying to say, and for those of you who may not understand, is that they do not accept being the former chief of staff. He does not, first of all, accept that there's a new cabinet. He does not accept that there's a new president. He does not accept that there's a new leader of the Nigerian people. All he accepts right now is the fact that there is only one president in the Republic of Niger, and that is President Mohamed Bazoum, who was democratically elected. Now, I'm going to ask you about President Mohamed Bazoum, because I need to ask you how he's doing right now, how he's faring. After the coup d'etat happened, you were there trying to fight back. It didn't work, so you left, but he's being detained now. How is he feeling now as we speak?
Le président de la République va très bien. Il a le moral très haut et il est prêt à se battre pour la démocratie, pour la liberté, pour la justice au Niger. Donc le président de la République va très bien, il a le moral très très haut. Certes, les conditions de vie sont déplorables parce que depuis l'événement du 26 juillet, la junte a mis tout en œuvre pour le démoraliser, pour le faire ramener à un état réduit, mais c'est sans compter sur sa force morale. Donc le président de la République va très bien.
Okay, so basically he's making the point that when you talk about President Mohamed Bazoum, he's in high spirit, good spirit. In fact, morally, his morale is high. He's not down or, dampened. His spirit is not dampened by the fact that there's a new military junta that is controlling the country, except to say that he's been detained. And naturally, when you're detained, your rights are restricted. You do not have the right to move. You do not have the right to make certain natural, adjustments which he would have done when he was head of state. So that is the only confinement in which he finds himself, except to say that he still believes that he's the president of the republic and is in good spirit. I guess that's the import of the point you're making. Now, you're saying that he's in good health. If he's in good health and is in a high morale, he's been deposed by the military junta, and we've seen the military junta receiving a lot of support. I don't know if it's just my impression, but they seem to be receiving a lot of support. You take a look at when the coup happened, they staged a rally at a stadium, and in that stadium, lots of people filling up the stadium to capacity. It does suggest that there's just something right with this coup d'etat and the military regime that is controlling. People appear to be supporting them. Is that not the case?
Sur ça, ce que je veux vous dire, d'abord, sachez que dans des situations comme ça, c'est toujours le populisme qui prend le dessus sur tout ce qui est rationnel. Alors, donc, la junte nigérienne n'a pas fait exception. Quand il y a eu le coup d'État, la vraie manifestation s'est tenue le premier jour du coup d'État. Il y avait eu une manifestation spontanée. Moi, j'étais dans la manifestation, j'avais conduit cette manifestation. C'était des milliers et des milliers de Nigériens qui étaient sortis pour dire non au coup d'État. Ils ont tiré à balles réelles sur les gens. 4 personnes étaient sévèrement blessées. C'est ce qui a démotivé les gens ce jour-là. Après, eux-mêmes, pour se donner bonne conscience, ils ont organisé un simulacre de manifestation où ils ont pris toutes les nouvelles recrues des militaires, les nouvellement recrues, et leurs familles, qu'ils ont habillés en t-shirt. Certains d'ailleurs n'ont pas eu le temps de se déshabiller, d'enlever leur habit militaire pour mettre leur habit civil quand ils sont venus à la manifestation. Et si vous regardez, quand ils ont attaqué l'ambassade de France, celui qui a été blessé au pied que vous voyez dans les manifestations qu'on avait prises, c'est un colonel-major de l'armée. Donc, les manifestants ne sont pas des gens, des civils qui sont contents, la plupart qui sont contents du régime militaire.
Why are you arguing so? Why so?
Parce que c'est ce que je veux de vous dire. La plupart des manifestants, quand vous regardez même à la télévision, ils ont encore le treillis militaire, le t-shirt militaire. Et celui qui a été blessé à l'ambassade de France le jour où ils ont fait la grande manifestation, parce que la riposte a fait que les gens étaient obligés de tirer des gaz lacrymogènes sur eux. Il y a un qui était blessé au pied, c'était un colonel-major de l'armée. Donc, ça veut dire que la plupart des manifestants, ce sont des éléments, les nouvelles recrues de l'armée qu'ils ont fait sortir. Ça, c'est un premier point. Le deuxième point, sachez que le Niger compte 8 régions. Oui. Parmi les 8 régions, c'est uniquement Niamey où il y a eu des manifestants. Dans toutes les capitales, c'est l'opposition qui est forte en Afrique. Principalement au Niger, l'opposition est très forte à Niamey. Donc, ils ont fait sortir les militants de l'opposition. Le parti politique de l'opposition, du leader Hama Amadou qui est à Paris actuellement, il a écrit une lettre pour demander à ces gens de sortir pour soutenir la manifestation. Donc voilà la manifestation de Niamey. Mais quand vous regardez les médias, quand vous regardez les télévisions, vous voyez que dans tous les pays, dans toutes les autres régions, nos gens ont manifesté, y compris à Niamey, où ils ont été tirés à balles réelles.
So basically the point the former chief of staff is making is that we should disregard what is happening on the televisions as we see it, and also making the point that what we have is that the military is just inviting people to create the impression as though they have legitimacy, but they do not have legitimacy based on what we're seeing on the screens, and that they are just bringing their cronies and bringing people who align with them to fill the stadium. So we shouldn't believe what we're seeing on the television. Beyond that, the second point is that Niamey is the smallest region out of the 8 regions that we have in the Republic of Niger. Except to say that when you take a look at all of the regions in the Republic of Niger, Niamey is the smallest, although it is the capital. Now that side has a lot of support from the opposition political parties, and we had leading figures of the opposition political parties that incited the public against President Mohamed Bazoum, a reason for which it is creating the impression as though nationally there is support for the military, except to say that in the capital, as we speak, they do not have support or legitimacy. So that's the point you're making. Now ECOWAS says that they want to go in and to intervene in this military regime or coup d'etat that we've seen in the Republic of Niger. There is a question as to whether or not you believe in that intervention. Lots of criticisms against the decision to intervene. Do you support that move as, you know, someone who's worked closely with President Mohamed Bazoum? Do you feel that force is the way to do this, by ECOWAS deploying a force to deal with this?
Merci pour cette question. Déjà, la première chose que je vais vous dire, la CEDEAO a pris ces mesures pas de gaieté de cœur, et c'est des mesures légitimes et légales. La CEDEAO, dans sa constitution, dans ses statuts et ses règlements, prévoit l'usage de la force en cas de renversement d'un régime démocratiquement élu. Aujourd'hui, si la junte abandonne son projet de prendre le pouvoir par la force, la CEDEAO va abandonner toutes les sanctions et la force ne sera pas utilisée. Mais comme vous le constatez, ici, la CEDEAO est prête à intervenir et ce n'est pas de la blague. Ceux qui doutent, je crois qu'à partir de cet instant, doivent arrêter de douter et savoir que la CEDEAO est très sérieuse et que si la junte ne revient pas sur son projet de renverser le régime démocratiquement élu, l'intervention aura lieu comme ça a eu lieu déjà dans plus de 4 pays. Il y a eu la Gambie, il y a eu la Côte d'Ivoire, il y a eu Sierra Leone, il y a eu le Libéria. Donc ce n'est pas pour la première fois que la CEDEAO va intervenir. Et j'aimerais profiter de votre antenne aussi pour dire à ceux qui pensent que c'est une guerre contre le Niger, ce n'est pas une guerre contre le Niger. De la même façon que le coup d'État n'est pas une opération militaire compliquée, le contre-coup d'État de la CEDEAO aussi ne sera pas une opération militaire compliquée ou bien une guerre contre le Niger. Il n'y aura pas de guerre contre le Niger. La CEDEAO va intervenir et je peux vous assurer qu'il n'y aura aucune victime, que ce soit civile ou militaire. Ils vont abandonner leur projet.
Okay, my colleague Winston Amwa is also listening in. Winston, you want to come in now to explain what he said? We seem to be having a challenge connecting to my colleague Winston Amwa, but basically, just to break down some of the issues that the former chief of staff has been talking about. He's making the point basically that in terms of the military intervention from ECOWAS, we need to acknowledge the fact, first of all, that there is a framework or a legal regime under which ECOWAS operates. ECOWAS has a statute which binds all countries, and that statute permits for the defense of the democracy of all other countries. And so based on that, they believe that ECOWAS has the right to intervene, first of all, in the situation. There's a second point about precedence, and the point he's making about precedence is that ECOWAS has done that before by going into some other territories, by, of course, intervening in some destabilization situations in the sub-region. So this is the reason for which they believe that ECOWAS does have, the right to go in. So let's deal now with the issue about France. Because when it comes to the French Republic, there is I don't know if we should call it an anti-French sentiment, if you want us to describe it that way, in terms of what the sentiment are. Do you feel that, there's an anti-French sentiment that is affecting you?
Ce que j'ai à dire, c'est que ce sentiment anti-français que les gens mettent en avant ou bien veulent mettre en exergue n'existe pas chez nous au Niger. Je peux vous le dire en toute connaissance de cause. Il n'y a pas de sentiment anti-français au Niger. C'est un sentiment créé par quelques groupuscules de personnes qui utilisent les réseaux sociaux, Facebook, WhatsApp, pour faire croire à la communauté internationale un sentiment qui n'existe pas réellement au Niger. La France, au Niger, n'est visible que justement dans la lutte contre le terrorisme. La France et les autres partenaires comme les États-Unis nous aident beaucoup par leur capacité technique et même des hommes au sol pour lutter contre le terrorisme. Et ça, même la junte, quand elle est arrivée au pouvoir, quand elle est apparue à la télé pour la première fois, a reconnu les efforts appréciés et appréciables des partenaires techniques. Donc la France, les États-Unis, l'Allemagne et tous ceux qui nous aident à lutter contre le terrorisme. La preuve, dès qu'ils ont fait le coup d'État et que les partenaires n'interviennent plus, entre le 26 juillet et aujourd'hui, il y a eu autour de 16 attaques militaires contre des positions militaires. Alors que dans les deux années du président de la République, son Excellence Bazoum Mohamed, il n'y a eu que 3 attaques au cours de 2 ans. Pour vous dire à quel point l'apport de la France dans la lutte contre le terrorisme est très très important, ainsi que l'apport de tous les autres partenaires. Toujours dans le sentiment anti-français, vous savez, ceux qui ont des complexes, les gens qui ont des complexes qui ne veulent pas s'afficher avec la France. La France en réalité n'a aucune raison, il n'y a aucune raison pour que la France, je ne sais pas, pour que la France veuille prendre le contrôle du Niger. Ce serait rentrer dans beaucoup de détails, mais le Niger n'a pratiquement pas connu de colonisation. La pénétration coloniale au Niger, entre la pénétration coloniale au Niger et la lutte pour l'indépendance du Niger, on estime que c'est entre 10 et 20 ans, pas plus. Ce n'est pas comme les autres pays, comme le Ghana, la Côte d'Ivoire, qui ont connu vraiment la colonisation pendant des centaines d'années. Ce n'est pas la même chose. Donc pour vous dire que ce sentiment anti-français n'existe pas au Niger. C'est créé de toutes pièces par d'autres puissances étrangères qui veulent justement venir en Afrique pour faire cette fois-ci vraiment de la colonisation, parce que ce sera la colonisation des esprits. Donc ce sentiment anti-français est artificiel et créé de toutes pièces par quelques groupuscules qui n'ont pas eu la chance peut-être de suivre le cursus qu'ils souhaiteraient.
Well, so basically the point is that France has been helpful to the country. It's not as though they are controlling or colonizing the country as many would want to paint that image, and that France has been helpful to the country. Basically what he's saying. So finally, the message about the way forward. Tomorrow, the military chiefs will be wrapping up their meeting. What message would you want to send out to the international community?
Ce que j'aimerais dire à la communauté internationale, c'est de savoir déjà que le Niger est le dernier rempart contre le terrorisme en Afrique de l'Ouest. Si le Niger tombe, c'est toute l'Afrique de l'Ouest qui va tomber.